we found that the longer the picture was, the less it played. And I think the first cut was over 2.5 hours. And we had finally started cutting it down and cutting it down and cutting it down. And we found that the faster it played, the more it satisfied the audience.
Hello, and welcome back to The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America. In this episode, we are revisiting Martin Scorsese's 1985 absurdist comedy, After Hours, in honor of its 40th anniversary. The film tells the story of Paul Hackett, an office drone who has a romantic encounter with a girl in a Manhattan cafe and agrees to visit her Soho apartment. The seemingly simple trip descends into a series of awkward, surreal, and life-threatening situations with a colorful cast of characters, as Paul spends the rest of the night trying to return uptown. In addition to After Hours, Scorsese's extensive directorial credits include the DGA Award-nominated feature films Killers of the Flower Moon, The Irishman, The Wolf of Wall Street, Goodfellas, Raging Bull, and Taxi Driver, the DGA Award-nominated documentary, George Harrison, Living in the Material World, the DGA Award-winning pilot episode of Boardwalk Empire, and the DGA Award-winning feature film, The Departed. In 2003, Scorsese was honored with the DGA Lifetime Achievement Award in feature film. Following the anniversary series screening of the film at the DGA Theater in New York, Scorsese shared insight into the making of After Hours with fellow director Raymond De Felitta and the film's star, Griffin Dunne. Listen on for their spoiler-filled conversation.
Hello, thank you. Oh my. Oh,
Hey.
hi. Hi, everybody.
You like the movie?
Well,
I said in the intro that I saw this when I was in my early 20s. I was living in the Village. I saw it at, I guess, Broadway and 11th. It was the perfect place to see it, and it's such a wonderful trip back to this era. And it functions as not only a wonderful comedy and a social satire, but very much an image of New York at the time. I wonder, when you look at a movie like this, is it like a picture of your life at the time? Because it's not a period piece. It's something that was very current when you were making it.
well, yes, I think it is I was living down there. In fact, I was shooting some of it around where the lofts I was living in. I quickly discovered I was not a loft person. And I grew up.
It always amazed me you lived there.
You remember?
On Duane Street.
Yeah, Duane. And it's a long story, but my friends have moved down there, but they at that time were able to fix up the lofts and spend money on it. I didn't have anything. So having come off of some difficult experiences, the Raging Bull wound up getting some nice notices, et cetera. But it was part of the collapse of the studio at UA. King of Comedy was designated as on Entertainment Tonight the flop of the year. Last Temptation of Christ, after working on it for years, was canceled on the last day, the Thanksgiving Day of 1983. And so I was asked to leave California. And I came home, and I was in these lofts. And I had no money, nothing. And so this is all reflected, trying to find what kind of movies I was going to make from then on. And I realized that, and I'm saying this because the bleakness of the streets reminds me of this, reminds me of how I was feeling at the time. I'm saying this because I felt I had to go back and learn how to make a movie again with the least amount of financial support, make it the lowest budget if I can, shooting as quickly as I can. For example, Boxcar Bertha, I learned how to shoot in 24 days. Mean Streets was 25 days. Alice Doesn't Live Anymore was like 38 days or whatever. Taxi Driver was 45. But we had gotten into a situation where films were 90 days and 100 days, and you did all these people, and I got to start all over again. And that's when you introduced me to Michael Ballhaus. So, that's really the kind of personal landscape when I think of the film. And I took it too, when you gave me that script, I took it as a kind of a self-parody in a way. Mm-hmm. Here I am back in the middle of nowhere, in a sense. I don't belong down there. I don't belong anywhere here. So what the hell? And start all over again. I can't be more specific about it, but it does reflect that period of my life. And I did try really to learn how to make a film again, in terms of making something where you don't have the facility and you're begging for an extra half day. That's it. That's the day. You got to do it.
Right. So Griffin, when you, at this point in your life, you would already become very well known as a comic actor. You're in American Werewolf in London. You're in Johnny Dangerously, but you're also already a producer. So this is really, I feel like, an effort that you had to combine your two biggest strengths at that point. Walk us through, Joe, when you got Joe Minion's script, how you got to Marty. How did all this happen?
Yeah, well, Amy Robinson, my co-producer on this, had read.
Who was in?
By the way,
who was the actress in Mean Streets?
Played Teresa in Mean Streets, so she read this script. Joe Minion wrote at Sundance at the lab. Dusan Makaveyev, the Serb director, gave her and said, "This man is my assistant. Maybe you like," which he did.
He came down the set one night, I remember.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And so she sent it to me in California and said, "I think this would be a good part for you too. I think you like this." And I remember reading it for the first time. It caused such anxiety. I had to read it standing up. And I would turn the pages with my toe. And just, oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh my God is right.
And Amy said, who'd be great for this is Marty. And Marty, she knew you to be a rather funny guy who understood, how crazy shit is. Mm-hmm. And so that was, so we got it to Marty. We had the same lawyer, Jay Julian.
Jay Julian, yeah.
And so Jay got it to you, but then you were off to Morocco.
No, I went to Morocco to do. I was location scouting.
Your location
scouting for all of the year of '83. Location scouting, casting, rewriting, working on Last Temptation of Christ. Then it was canceled on Thanksgiving Day. Finally, it was canceled. We had been working physically working on it from January on. Prior to that, Paul Schrader had written the script, et cetera. We'd been working on it for years. But
bad news for you, good news for us.
Yes, exactly. It was
because we were apparently at the top of your pile on your Air Morocco flight home.
Yeah,
and Marty said to Jay, and this is pretty good.
Yeah, I really liked it. It didn't really, at that point, didn't have an ending in a sense. And I felt that, I don't know, I realized too that, as I said, to learn again, not to learn again, but to retrieve the discipline and to arm yourself against the system. Because if you're going to need financing for a picture, then you better figure out how to use it. Without them coming in and taking the film away, because that's why I may have been rather paranoid making the picture, if you recall. But for many different reasons, looking around, what's that mean? That sort of. Anyway, so I figured, well, as we're working, we could work out the ending, and that's how it developed. We shot 40 nights at first.
40 nights. There was at that time a union called NABIT that was catering to smaller budget movies. And so it was an entirely new crew that Marty wouldn't have been familiar with. And Michael Ballhaus being one, but also Rita Ryak, who you then worked with many times.
Yeah.
several people you took on to movies that followed, and but we did have that problem with the ending.
Yeah.
It ended with Paul Hackett falling out of the back. No, not falling out, just taking off, and he's there, the eyes, and that's
Right.
how the movie ended.
Yeah, but we didn't. It took us a while to get to that one.
Exactly.
You know, we didn't really. That wasn't actually written, and so we were working on. I think Joe and you and me and Amy and everybody were sort of working on this. Even Michael Powell will throw some ideas in.
That's right, Michael Powell, who was there at the set in his bright orange plaid suits.
Yeah.
He always called me boy. I don't think he ever knew my name, but it was such a delight to see that guy. But that we would always struggle, and we knew the ending going off and was too claustrophobic. The audience suffered enough with this guy. And then I know you showed it to, Brian De Palma.
Showed it to De Palma, Spielberg, Gilliam, Terry Gilliam, a few of the people, and I got some pointers. And one of them, Stephen, told me to make sure that we showed the people searching for you, because I didn't show that.
Yeah.
And then we were thinking about how to end it, where you wound up. And
Well, do you remember the ending we were first really excited about?
yes, remember that? Do you want to say it?
Well,
Who came up with that?
I'm trying to think. It sounds like Joe. Who came up with this? Anyway, I'm in the basement. Verna Bloom goes, hide in me. Hide. I'm going, hide me. She goes, come here. And I climb inside Verna Bloom. And
Do you remember the phone call when I tried to convince the studio?
It was
David Geffen and
so-
Linda Opes.
And I'm pitching this too.
Yeah.
And I go, and
I'm
then
pitching
David, it cuts to the West Side Highway, and I'm covered in embiotic fluids, and I'm naked.
He's born again.
And Geffen goes, "Are you all out of your minds?"
He said, will you just work on the film, finish it, don't worry about it. We're not releasing it until you're happy with it. That was David. He was terrific, David Geffen. And just finish it. Just keep cutting. If you need stuff, figure out if you want to shoot something. We'll go back and see what it costs and see what happens. And meantime, Michael Powell walks by one night at my loft, and he goes, oh, he winds up back at work. And we go, yeah, right. And we continued. A few weeks later, that's where we wound up. Yeah, we pitched that. Remember?
We pitched it.
Seriously, we thought this was...
We actually thought that was a great idea.
2001, man. Star Baby. Only in the West Side docks. Oh, man, this is great.
And now you can't imagine any other ending.
No.
Yeah, it's so. One of the things I noticed watching this again, the script you can label it whatever you want, farce. You can, but your direction doesn't lean into the farce. You play against.
No,
it.
it's all real.
Yeah,
It's totally real. This
all
happened.
It's improbable, but it's possible.
right. So I see it as a directorial choice. Another director might have said, "No, I want to, let's make the pace faster. Let's do that." You're very, I think, very courageous in keeping it, deliberate. I would say, and the humor becomes like sort of a release valve as you set things up. What do you think?
I think we didn't play it for jokes at all. It was like, this is
This is
truly
real.
terror.
I remember one scene where you were begging John Hurt for the keys, and I went up to you and I said, I don't really find you convincing. I need you to get those keys.
Yeah.
You need those keys. And that was performance.
That was just desperate. And then, the very final scene with Verna when I'm running around and you would do an end slate and where you wouldn't call action, you'd roll the camera and the sound. And then I ran around the block before I went into the bar. And I remember going into the Ear Inn on the way, and I went into the bartender and I said, "Free drinks for everyone." Everybody cheered, and then I ran out. And I could hear the ADs going, "Okay, he's rounding Spring Street. He's coming up to the set. He's coming up." And then I walked in, and it was just like we didn't go comedy. The only time we knew it was funny was because we'd hear Marty off camera trying to contain his laughter.
I mean, it's the poor guy. It's I guess, I really don't know what you would call farce, or you used satire earlier. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think it defies that, though, and that's why what you said when you play for reality.
Well, it could happen.
Yeah.
And it could happen that way, granted. Now, there are people who say, well, the guy loses $20. Well, look, if you want to take it that literally, at that time, there were no cell phones, et cetera, and that, if you want to take it that literally, then you're not playing the game. Then you're not going to go with the film. Then that's it. I can't help you. I don't know what to say. One has to, what is it, suspend belief? What is it? What's the phrase?
Suspend, I think.
Yeah, you believe.
We get it. Yeah.
But also that could happen. You could wind up, I had a dream last night, the same thing. I'm not kidding. I was in the place they wouldn't take me, and then there was nothing I could get to. I was supposed to get to a hotel. We're supposed to be here or something. And but in Italy or somewhere, I don't know what it was. And I couldn't convince anybody to put me in a car to get me to where I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Literally, it was a nightmare, and it went on for hours, a whole night.
There is a sort of New York tradition. If you've been a New Yorker long enough, you've probably experienced the day where you can't get anywhere. The subway's done.
But that's
they've blocked
true.
the street.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can happen here.
It's the nature of the mechanism of the city. The cab ride is something I added, and the cab ride was in the script, of course, but I had exactly that cab ride with the flamenco. At 2 a.m, it was wild, and the checker cab. It was great.
It was amazing. We were allowed to do that because we had, police escorts on either side, but they let the stunt driver. Yeah. He hit like 80 miles an hour.
Yeah, and I was in there with Michael.
What? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
It was unbelievable. And then, and I think finally a voice of reason even said to the cops, "This is wrong." and that was it.
Griffin, we had the streets. The streets were kind of open in a way.
Yeah, it was Second Avenue all the way down.
Yeah, it wasn't endangering anybody, but we were endangering ourselves, really.
Yeah.
How close? I'm interested because it feels to me that it's so tightly edited, and the music is. How close is the first cut to the final cut?
Well, quickly, the idea about that I mentioned about putting myself through a process of making a film in a certain disciplinary fashion, and that was to draw or design every shot. And so I knew, including in the cutting, certain things that would occur. Okay. For example, the keys coming down, the point of view of the keys being thrown at him, which took us a number of tries because we didn't quite get it in the first one. But in any event,
you had a shot list for every day on the
drawings
call sheet.
too. Yeah, and everything, drawings and everywhere and designs, so that we knew exactly what we were doing. And it was maybe 20 odd setups a day, which for me, coming from a situation where you're doing 5 setups a day or 4, that was a big deal. But anyway, the editing, we found that the longer the picture was, the less it played. And I think the first cut was over 2.5 hours. And we had finally started cutting it down and cutting it down and cutting it down. And we found that the faster it played, the more it satisfied the audience, really, because I wanted an audience to see it. And, people just make a film. No, the audience should see the movie, And maybe they react to the movie, seriously. So we tested it, too, a couple of times with audiences and saw where the laughs were. And we had to go back. We got laughs where we didn't expect. And so we had to go back and add frames or something to the previous, to the next scene so that, you could hear the next line of dialogue. Or we found that things were picked up by an audience. Every audience, even our friends who saw the film, when you go to see Verna Bloom at the end, you had your tie off. Remember? And it was we put it in your pocket or whatever. And when you came out of the men's room, you had your tie on. Everybody said, "Where did he get the tie?" I said, "In this movie where all these things happen, you get to the end of the movie, you're worried about his tie?" So we went and we shot a shot of his, were you taking the tie out of your pocket? Oh, okay, now we're satisfied.
The picture's saved.
Remember that? Oh my God, the picture is saved. There are things I learned. It was really a learning process, and ultimately, we shot an extra 3 to 4 days, I think, or and we even and we did falling out of the van or whatever it was, and then of course the ending at the office with McConaughey on camera, the Steadicam.
Yeah, there was. I remember you had the Mozart playing that you hear for the closing credits, and just before lunch, you did. I think you did a take, and McConaughey, who's very, very tall, and one of the very first Steadicam guys in New York. He did the shot, and on the monitor, and Marty goes, "You hear that music?" Yeah, he goes, "Why do you think that's there?" He goes, "Listen to the music, the shot, the music, same thing." And the guy went, I got it. And then we broke for lunch, and I came back, and he worked on the thing with the track all through his lunch break, and then hit it, nailed it.
McConaughey was amazing, but he's going backwards. He's running
That's
backwards.
right. It was a very difficult shot.
He did the Copacabana.
But he did it feeling the music.
He did the Copa in Goodfellas, McConaughey. No, he was something. But again, the music was played on set, right?
Yeah, it was live.
Yeah.
Like that.
I mean, that was the pace of the film, the enjoyment of it too. I think it's Mozart, I think, the First Symphony, and heard it in a car one day. I thought it was really great. We wound up shooting some of the people looking for you, from the people from the ice cream truck, I forget what else except the ending, really.
That final shot when I'm getting out of the elevator and it opens up, I'm in the elevator and the door of the elevator opens up. You played a joke on me. I did. Where you rolled the camera, the elevator door opens and there's absolutely no one on the set.
Oh, that's good.
There was just no one. Everybody just took off, and I'm acting my little heart out. And where the hell is everybody? Remember?
Oh, that's great. So even with the rushing and everything, and it was a good. Rushing wasn't even rushing. It was a good pace, and it really rekindled my whole sense, my whole joy of making films, and grounded me again in terms of determination to continue to make movies when we finished this film. And in the editing, we learned a lot, myself and Thelma, in terms of comedy moving faster. Really helped. And so we'd go and take frames off things that we never thought we would, And I think the editing took a little longer than usual because of that, because we had to come to the ending of the picture. Yeah. And as David Geffen said, take your time, make sure it's right.
Yeah, people's hearts had to slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
Griffin, were you involved at all during the editing? Or I guess my big question is, what did you think the first time you saw this assembled?
Well, I knew it was, a incredible opportunity, like something I never took for granted, and I could not believe, I was at a point in my life where I was producing a movie that Martin Scorsese was directing that I was acting in, and and Amy and I were, we're very close partners, but when I was acting, I didn't want to think one thing about production. I just wanted to be the actor for Marty and be in the moment. And the only time that ever happened was Amy pulled me aside and she goes, we hardly ever talked we talked as friends. We never talked production, except one time she said, hey, listen, it's all going great. The only problem we're having is Marty's shooting so much film. Maybe you could just talk to him about, maybe shooting a little less film. I said, You mean you want me to go in and ask him to shoot me less? And Amy goes, yeah, I know, stupid question. Never mind.
That is wonderful.
So, and then seeing it all assembled, I mean, I remember Marty was, you have that attitude though of, Billy Wilder, whenever he saw someone in a bad mood, he goes, "What's the matter? You look like you just saw your rough cut."
That's right.
And you were kind of like that.
It's the scariest thing in the world, yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't feel that way. I was thrilled.
Ooh, no, that was hard. The rough cuts were hard. Yeah, we had to really carve it out. And also, it took on, even though it stuck. I mean, the script was very tight at times. It took on, because of the nature of the actors, and it was John Hurd and Terry Garr, and a number of others. It took on a life of its own within the frame, and the energy of the actors sometimes would determine, obviously the cutting of the picture. But all the inserts, all that stuff was all designed way beforehand. Yeah.
Was there much improv though within that?
Was there a lot of
No,
improv?
not really. When that monologue about recapping, was not in the script. And then you said we needed something, and I think actually I kind of knocked that off, and we brought it in, and that was like, just met a lady, let me use her phone. That was it. Just pick it up, put it down, pick it up. All that.
That's good.
We kind of played with that, but it really wasn't improv heavy at all.
No, yeah, that monologue. You're right. And then we had a version where the entire monologue was played, and then we did a version where there was a dissolve in the middle.
Dissolves, right?
And that's when I decided. I think we used the dissolve.
Yeah. Same with going up the steps. Remember going to the loft? Right. It was like took forever to get up there.
Oh yeah. So we took a little thing, dissolving him coming up the stairs in the loft. It reminds me of there's a shot in Shane that I like a lot. There's a lot of it is Shane. I like, I should say, but there's an editorial moment or directorial where Jack Palance enters the saloon. The camera's on the floor. There's a dog in the foreground, and he enters the saloon in the background, and he comes forward, and it dissolves, and he's literally passing the camera lens. So you don't see him walking from the door to where the dog is. It just dissolves. And it's kind of a unearthly feeling. Even the dog gets up and moves away. And I like doing that. I did it in Taxi Driver, too. And so we figured, well, that's the only thing to do. We can't wait for him to climb all these stairs, And also I didn't want to do cuts on that particular part. But everything was pretty closely designed, camera moves and all that. I found working with Ballhaus to be a real change of freedom,
Because he must have really kind of come from your, right? Because if he's in Germany working with Fassbinder, then he's in New York working with John Sayles. So did he kind of come from?
Well, we produced Baby It's You, Amy and I, and we're with John. We're aware of him through Fassbinder, and Michael was shooting a movie, very low budget movie in New Jersey with Joe Pesci.
That's right. But something Mr.
Dear
Beautiful.
Mr. Wonderful.
Mr. Wonderful, yeah.
And so we went and we met him, and Michael wasn't aware of the Bruce Springsteen songs, which were anachronistic to the story, were all listed, what the songs would be in the script. And Michael got his Walkman and headphones and listened to Springsteen and read the script at the same time. We went, this is our guy.
Right.
And we had this great, and so it was, he was natural to turn him on to Marty.
So this sounds like it was a very tense set with a lot of difficulties between the two of you. But there must have been one.
There was.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got to hear that.
Do you want to say it? Well, I mean, what I was concerned about was he had to remain in a state of anxiety, and there shouldn't be any relief of any kind. And I had to, here I am. I'm thinking for the art of it, quote unquote. Quotes on, of course, you have to, or for the craft of it in a way. I would need the lead to be always in that tense mode, so to speak. But there was a side of me that, because everything was taken away, and I was they would come back, friends would say, they're saying you're washed up. They're using words, you never get a picture again, going again, and things like that. I wanted nothing to go wrong in terms of bad behavior. And so I didn't want him to have any sex for the 40 days. But I figured then, but seriously, as an actor, you pent up, the energy, and then, but if you relieve it, and then, what is that? Then you come back, and what was it? One morning you came back. What happened?
Well, it was like the 38. It
Killed
was
me.
40 days and 40 nights. And it was like the 38th night.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
And it was I made a mistake. And we had left, we had wrapped a scene where I'm massaging Linda Ferrantino.
oh yeah.
In a state of just, and then we had to, wrap. It was, 6 a.m. We had to wrap. We'll pick it up on Monday. And so I left like, oh my God. And then on Monday, I'm like, Pepe Le Pew. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it didn't.
It
Right.
just, all the tension was gone. I'm suddenly a ladies' man. And Marty goes, hey, come here. Did you get laid? I went, oh, Marty, come on, I'm so sorry. You ruined the whole fucking picture. You ruined everything. We're going to wrap right now. I don't even know where to go with this. Fuck it. I don't know. And I was so terrified that it turns out panic and terror look just like sexual loss.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
and I was back in the game.
No, no. I mean, it was not a thing to. It was a little bit over the top, but I was really that edgy about making a film and making it.
No, you were absolutely right.
Keeping the. Otherwise, it's like, what do you do to get somebody comes in? They've been out hanging out all night, and I mean, it's a thing, literally, of needing the actors and your key people. They're your generals in a sense. They're right on the line. We get ill action, everybody goes. And if one is tired or distracted.
No, Jake LaMotta
There we
believed
are.
the same thing
No, you
about,
poured cold
I'm
water
sure you
on it,
had
man.
that
Yes, yeah.
same conversation with Bob.
But that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I fucked it up.
I mean, it's obviously some maybe fairy tale, but it's like the idea of pent up energy is good to keep it that tight. But I'm saying prophets will go in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. Come on,
yeah, I know.
you can do it. We're New Yorkers.
I don't think audiences, it's now almost become a genre of itself, and After Hours is like an adjective for a certain kind of movie. But there wasn't, anxiety and comedy weren't necessarily linked together at the time.
Right.
People weren't used. So when we were testing it, there would be sometimes where we'd think things were really funny and there'd be dead silence because people were so anxious and worried about this guy. So it was like finding that balance, and I think when it came out, it was more confusing to American audiences or critics than it was in, say, Europe.
In Europe, yeah, it did very well in Europe. It won a Cannes, actually.
Yes, you won Best Director.
Yeah. And here it was kind of ignored completely, I think, except
Yeah, it was a total drag.
New York Times didn't like it, and I think a couple of the key critics felt that a strange thing. They felt that they were in maybe one or two were in a screening that was a crew screening, and they felt that the audience was rigged to laugh, and that wasn't the case. Maybe it was. Maybe they were in a screening where there were some crew members or people who worked on the film. But it wasn't planned. I had no control over that at that point, when a critic sees the film. But
I know that I've always wanted to be in a movie that someday Pauline Kael might watch and review, and she finally did, and she called me a second-rate Dudley Moore.
yeah, no, she was. She tended to like the film, though.
She really did not.
She didn't? I thought she did.
No.
But I didn't. By that point, I wasn't reading any more of that stuff. So what can you do? But there were people who did. They liked that and can. And there were people who liked it.
Do you take reviews like the Times to heart when they're not fully behind your film? How do you feel about that?
It's been 50 years. What do you want from me? Yeah, I mean, at times, if I read them and the person says this person, oh, God, Well, then you just move on. What are you going to do? Yeah. It's not, you can't. And also, why should I think like them? I don't, do my own thing if I can.
I think it's great when years later their review looks utterly isolated and strange, and when you look back, it's a movie that works as well as this.
Yeah, again, it's a period of time, like a film or a novel comes out at a certain time in the history of a country and of our culture, and it just is not. People say it's ahead of its time. It may be behind, it may be who knows, but it didn't hit at that point, and later on, something else happens with it. For example, a film which I love, Leave Her to Heaven, which is a beautiful film noir in Technicolor, melodrama, that has a hypnotic feel to it. It's very unique. It's been restored again, and it's considered one of the best noirs ever made. Directed by John Stahl and Gene Tierney and Cornell Wilde, et cetera, Gene Crane. And it's a favorite film of mine, but when it came out, the Harvard Lampoon named it the worst film of the year. So these things change, But again, Harvard, if it was Henry V, they'd say best. You understand? It's a class issue. And all of that's got to be wiped away. Because, that must have been a hit when it came out. So, no, And my daughter saw Rio Bravo, for example. She didn't like Westerns, but she really liked that one and said she may have been 10 or 11. That must have won all the Academy Awards. I said, no, that doesn't work that way. This kind of film was subjected, Rio Bravo, whatever you may think of it, is a Western. This is, even though it's Howard Hawks and John Wayne, it's a Western, put it here. That changed now, Once the genre had reached the end of its first period, which is by the time Wild Bunch was made, all the Westerns were then finished in a sense, and they started again, So Bravo was 58, 59, I think. So it's still in the genre. The only, I think, Oscars that had gone to industry, I should say, is really the Academy. So was Stagecoach and, earlier Cimarron, but that was long forgotten about. And every few years it changes. But I do find that it's interesting. Like, you reading the classics, or you read medieval classics like Dante, and he talked about his favorite poets being, of course, Virgil. But he also included Statius. I may be pronouncing it wrong, Statius. It was considered in that time by the poets of that generation to be on the equal terms, on the equal level of Virgil. Now, not necessarily. And so tastes change, I think. And, when you say, well, you can't compare it to novels and poetry and painting, but actually you could. Sure. I mean, you could. I'm not saying that this is a great film. I'm just saying that, it may mean more to people now than it did in, first of all, I don't think many people got to see it because it was a limited release. But it wasn't a it didn't go on the Entertainment Weekly flop of the year. It didn't win that kind of adulation, put it that way. So it was a moderate film, but I thought performances were great, and I thought it was ignored by the Academy for performances. I'm talking, A good friend of mine came out, a wonderful producer from Hollywood, came out to visit on the set one night and sat down and looked at me. He was watching me shoot. And he said to me at one point, genuinely, he said, don't you want to make a real movie? Well, it is, yeah. So that's the thinking. Yeah. You get up, you go do the next shot. What are you going to do? So,
Griffin, you're so funny in the movie. You're so beyond funny. It's not a question. I just have to tell you that. It's a great performance. I think that's going to be it for us. I can't tell you how great this was. We were thinking of showing War and Peace.
Oh, you're going to do War and Peace.
We decided on this. So
Bondarchuk, War and Peace. That's wonderful.
Yeah. No, I think everyone's very, very grateful that we didn't make that choice. So.
Thank you, everybody.
So
you were very kind.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for listening to another DGA Q&A. The Director's Cut is available wherever you listen to podcasts. And please share, subscribe, rate, and review. We'd love to hear your feedback. and you can help fellow film buffs find the show. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America.